Hey guys, Anthony, 4x4 Diesel. This is part 3. It's kind of important information. So, unsealed 4x4, D4D, Hilux, common problems and solutions. In part 1, we went through, just recapping, what they call the problem injector seats and seals and the solution. We also, excuse me, we've also been through problem engine rattle and the solution. And the next one, because he says he's got 99 problems. Excuse me, I think I need a detox from that Coke, yeah? It's shocking, hang on. I think they said you got to drink about 20 bottles of water or 20 litres of water to detox from one Coke. Anyway, one of the next problems on this page, I'll just quickly run through what they are, and we're going to go through them quickly, so hopefully we can get it all done in part 3. But problem, turbo stepper motor, right? So this is what they're saying. Problem, turbo stepper motor. Okay. And there's a solution. Problem, they're saying, problem, doggy clutch. What's a doggy clutch? I don't know. Yeah, we'll have to read about that. Solution, of course. Problem, something different, problem. E-jar, blockage and intake soot, and there's a solution. See if you guys can count. Oh, problem, here you go. Here's a big problem, this one, which we've already explained. So I don't know why trying to get towards 99, right? Trying to get towards 99, they've spread out all the problems caused by injectors and seats into a number of different problems by the sound of it. Anyway, there's a solution for that. That'll be interesting. Problem, we've got water pumps leaking prematurely. So we're going to go through all these and tell you which ones are really a problem, which ones aren't. Of course, there's a solution. And that's the bottom of the page. I don't know. I went to the arrow to the right and it went to the next article. So I don't know how well you can count, but I was at about 7, not 99. Let me go back to the top of the page. I'm sure it said, the introduction said, I've done the research for you because I've got 99 problems, but another blown D4D ain't one. Look, he's a writer. He's not. I mean, I can't write. I'm not a writer. I'm not even a video maker. But you've just got to put more punctuation, more full stops, more commas, more capital letters, and just proofread it, dude. Because I've got 99 problems, but it's got a, and then without a space, in brackets, another, but I've got 99 problems, but another blown D4D ain't one. Just put another, the word another, I don't know. Maybe you're better at English than me, probably, because that wouldn't be hard. Anyway, moving down, right, so moving down, what did we do? We did air injector seats and seals. We did the rattle. Did we do the rattle? Oh yeah, the famously noisy. I remember reading that garbage. No, it wasn't too bad. Okay, problem, stepper motor. The turbo fitted with a 1kd is a variable vane design which is controlled by an external turbo actuator stepper motor rather than a traditional dump valve and pneumatic wastegate. The stepper motor controls the angle of the turbo vanes that dictates the boost levels. This can and do fail, causing a fault code P1251 and the vehicle going into limp mode, resulting in the vehicle not being able to rev past 1500 RPM. Okay, so that does happen sometimes, very rare, but when you're talking about millions of cars and you get like, I don't know, 1 a year per workshop out of, I don't know, not even that, like it's not that common. Anyway, let's read the solution. A few years ago, this would require an entire turbo to be replaced, usually at a cost of approximately $3,500. Thankfully, you can now buy the stepper motor separately for under $500. Alternatively, you could choose this as the opportune time to upgrade the turbo if you're looking for more performance. However, this will certainly cost more than replace a stepper motor. Okay, so that information is reasonable, so I'll just do a small correction. It is variable vane, control stepper motor, wastegate, turbo vanes. That's about right. So if the turbo's failed, you've got a 1251. It doesn't mean you've got any issue with your turbo or your stepper motor. Let's be clear about that. So if you've got a 1251, don't go and get a new turbo and don't go and get a new stepper motor, because most people that replace stepper motors because someone said so a few years ago because you can buy them separately now. It didn't fix most of the problems, and if it did, It was the that was sticking, the linkages, and more to do with the turbo end of things than the motor, and that's what burnt the motor out. If it was a motor, but often wasn't a motor, it was the moving the linkage around, freeing that up was more of the issue. You know, the movement at the other end, the mechanical side. So just be careful. Don't go assuming because you read this. So, you know, not bad overall. It's just lacking a bit of information there, right? So you're going to get, if you've got a turbo problem, you're probably going to get a 1251, a 0046. 1251 does put it into limp mode and all that sort of thing. And you do need to clear the DTC and stop the engine, reset everything to get that cleared. The real solution is, as we've said in videos, I think I did anyway, you know what, we probably should do another video, but it's firstly lubricate that linkage with some product like, I didn't plan this, but I've got it right here, you know, something like the Inox, right? That I like that, it works really well. You can use the CRC if you like. They're the two products I like that are like that, you know. You can get your El Cheapo type products and, you know, you can put your spray grease, El Cheapo spray grease here, right? If you like, but it won't penetrate like the Inox does. We need it to penetrate and get in there. And just in case you thought I was a cheapskate, yeah, but look, I've got the good Inox high pressure spray grease as well, right? So it's not just the cheap one. I've even got, here you go, right? Inox. We've got the, you know, we've got a bit of product there. We've got the, but we like the CRC stuff. That's the mass airflow cleaner we use there as well. But anyway, getting off topic. So don't just go and you know, replace the stepper motor and whatever. So it's kind of right that you can do that, and the costings are about right, but it's not necessarily going to fix your problem. So just be careful if you read that part of the article. So we'll call it misinformation part 3 just to keep it the same, but that's not too bad. It's just lacking info. It's not the full picture anyway, but it's all good. That's why we're providing information. Now, next one, 2-in-1, doggy problem, doggy clutch. Dodgy, geez, I can't read, so that was my problem. I knew he was better at English than me. Dodgy clutch. There have been many reports of clutches slipping on this model Hilux, with some needing replacement in as little as 20,000 kilometres. Really? Anyway, sure, driving style and load will play a massive part in clutch wear, and they are really a consumable part, but it is something to be aware of if buying a used Hilux. You will have to factor in the cost of a clutch replacement, basically. My own vehicle has exited aftermarket clutch fitted and has started to slip on slightly steep climbs. The 32-inch tyres don't help there. They didn't help for your cracked piston either. Nor does the amount of off-road use the vehicle sees. Okay, right. Now, I just want to be really clear. Are you talking about Nissans or Hiluxes? It's the Nissans that need clutches at 20,000 Ks. You know, Navara, D40, you know, that's where the clutch problems are at. You know, there's no point talking about clutch problems with these. You know, there's not premature clutch problems. I've never heard of it in a Hilux. So I disagree. I'm not gonna, you know, I just disagree that, you know, 20,000 Ks, you know. 20,000 Ks, you've done something wrong. You've wrecked it, mate, you know. It's a Toyota. So, nah, disagree. Anyway, driving style will play a big part of it and all that sort of thing. Use genuine parts is my recommendation, but let's read the solution. Sorry, the only way out of this is to fit an upgraded clutch and have the flywheel machined. A sympathetic driving style will go a long way in getting the best longevity from your clutch. Factor in 500 to 1,000 for replacement clutch, not including labour. Yeah, that's right. I thought you were going to say 500 to 1,000. I think you need to budget closer to 1,000 for the replacement clutch, and the labour's quite a bit too. So clutches for these aren't cheap. It's not like the old 4-cylinders where we'd get them for 150 bucks or something. Anyway, clutch is not a problem in my opinion, guys, other than they are a wear and tear item and you're going to need to replace them, and they could surprise you when you're on a trip, unfortunately. So anyway, moving on. So we've done turbos and clutches. Next problem. Okay, remember this one. Problem, E-jar, blockage and intake soot. This is a problem for all common rail turbo diesels with an E-jar, exhaust gas recirculate valve, where oil mist laden exhaust gases are fed back into the engine. This is an attempt to reduce emissions. This causes carbon and soot to build up in the E-jar valve and intake of the motor, reducing performance and essentially choking it up. The Hilux is certainly prone to this, and the fix is usually an expensive tear down and clean of the intake system. That is fairly accurate. I think that's good. I just need to read that again. Problem, oh, yeah, it is a problem for all, yeah. Fed back in, attempt to reduce, yeah, it is really an attempt, you know. Cause E-jar, yeah, that's spot on. Let's go to the solution. That's very good. Very good. I like it. Short, sweet, and fairly accurate. Solution, fit a catch can. We just went from so good to so bad. Fit a catch can, or as they should be known, an oil separator as soon as possible. This will trap the oil mist from the exhaust gas before getting fed back into the turbo. If you have done big Ks already and haven't fitted a catch can, it would be advisable to have your intake and ERG. I guess again that's that proofreading thing. I can do something like that because I admit I don't take the time. I talk to the phone. It even puts the wrong words in, but you've got ERG there. You meant EGR. We know that. Anyway, have your intake and ERG inspected to see how messy it is. Cleaning is extremely laborious. I call it labour intensive. It is terrible, messy, crap job, and I ain't doing it anymore. And the right way to do it, I'm not stoked on the idea of doing a chemical carbon clean, so thank you for at least agreeing and doing your research that the on-car carbon cleans are rubbish. Don't do it. So he says, I'm not stoked on the idea of doing on-car carbon clean on the vehicle personally. Some people go to the effort of blanking it off their ERG. He's got ERG twice. EGR, mate. It's all good. Quite literally with a metal plate. Wow, could you imagine that? Quite literally with a metal plate, blanking it off. However, this is illegal for road use, so we'll leave that one alone. So by leaving it alone, what are you saying? You're saying that you agree that it should be allowed. Anyway, so blanking it off is definitely illegal. Putting a plate in that reduces the flow may or may not be illegal, and each state and country and territory could be different. You've got to read those rules, and it's quite a grey area, and you know it's a hard one to argue. You can reduce the flow of it and possibly not be illegal in my opinion, but I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to give advice on that. So let's leave that one alone. Anyway, rob Peter to pay Paul, you know, reducing the flow, keeps it clean, still works, is certainly better than a full blank. And we already know the catch can, not the way to do things. We've been through that. We won't waste time here because it's looking like we're going to get the rest of this done in another video. So that's the caked up intakes from the EGR. That is a problem on every vehicle, and it's not the manufacturer. It's not a Hilux problem. It's not a 1KD problem. So why involve it? It's a diesel problem. It's a whole separate article. Anyway, problem, we've got another separate problem here, guys. Look at this, right? Problem, engine seized. Okay, problem, engine seized. You want to avoid this one. So if you watch this video and you're still with us, you probably already know anyway, because all the people that watch, they already know stuff. It's all the people that didn't keep watching that don't know. They're going to be the ones that end up, oh, you know, this is happening. And you're going to be thinking, mate, where have you been for the last 10 years? Haven't you been reading? And anyway, problem, engine seized. This is as bad as it gets for an engine. Sorry, I better start learning how to read properly. Start again. Engine seized. This is as bad as it gets for an engine when it decides it's had enough of life and throws in the towel. The D4D, sorry, 1KD FTV is not immune to seizing, even though it's 99% avoidable if you know where to look. The problem is caused by the oil pickup in the sump becoming choked up with carbon and debris, restricting the flow of oil, thus destroying any chance of the motor getting the vital lubrication it so rightfully deserves. It deserves it. This again comes back to those pesky injectors. When the seal fails, it allows oil and carbon gases to leak into the cylinder. This evil concoction thickens the engine oil, blocking the oil pickup and ultimately cutting the flow of oil to where it needs to go. Anyway, we explained that earlier in part 1, so make sure you watch the one called, Unsealed 4x4, misinformation or something, and then part 2, it's got a number 2 written in red on the thumbnail, same thumbnail. I'll probably use the same thumbnail on this one. Part 3, then again, I've got another picture there that I might throw in. Anyway, that's kind of almost fairly accurate. It's not quite right, but it's close enough. Look, the engine seized, again, the problem we described in part 1, when the seats leak and the carbon, and that's where it gets to block the oil pickup. So why talk about it as a separate problem? Why say these D4D, Hiluxes and whatever, I've got 99 problems, and then only tell us 7, and at the end of the day, 7 comes down to sort of 3 or 4 problems, because that's all, the seats, the injectors, and the engine seized, it's all kind of a related one problem. But anyway, let's quickly go through it again. 99. It's not 99% avoidable, it's 100% avoidable by making sure you do the maintenance that I went over all over again in the first video to avoid these seats leaking, which is 100% avoidable. That's it. That's all you've got to do, and you're not going to have any blocked oil pickup. 100% avoidable, okay? 100%. If you're not sure, watch my videos. It's 100%. If you know where to look, yep, in your sump hole. So who taught him that one? I reckon he's been watching my information for that, because that's pretty accurate. The problem is caused by a pickup becoming choked up with carbon. That's right, restricting the flow of oil. And it also damages turbos as well. Turbos need the oil. It's really important. They need the vital lubrication. I'm just sort of skimming through again, seeing if there's any corrections needed. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Solution. Let's read the solution from them. From them, perform oil changes on time, every time. Well, I'll just interrupt and say there, it doesn't matter how many oil changes you do, you can do it every 2,000 Ks and you'll end up with a seized engine. So that is not the way to avoid it. Let's read on. Let's start again. Perform engine oil changes on time, every time. When the sump drain plug is removed, shine a torch up through the hole visually to inspect the pickup mesh. If there is anything other than oil on it, you will need to drop the sump and clean the pickup mesh. Well, that's almost right. That's what I've said to do. People going on about cameras and all. You don't need that. You just shine a light up there. So thank you very much. No problem. I'm happy to have taught you all that one. No problem. Just with a light. Takes 10 seconds. Now, he says if there's anything other than oil on it, you'll need to drop the sump. That's not quite right. There can be bits of rag, grey, RTV, silicon and other debris there that are normal. So don't get excited and drop your sump because you've got a couple of specks. You really want to identify the carbon, and we've done videos saying how you spray a bit of degreaser or let it drain out and have a look at those black particulates, if that's what it is, or if it's something else. You can possibly get them through the sump hole without going to all the extra work unnecessarily. Just leave the engine alone and leave it sealed. Anyway, it's also time to have the injectors inspected. That's correct. If you've got a blocked oil pickup and you haven't done injector replacement prior, you know, this sort of stuff, what we already talked about, then you need to do that because it's the cause of the block. So kind of pretty good information once we get further down this article. You will need to drop the sump clean oil. There's also time to have injectors inspected and seals replaced. This is causing the issue. Correct. Well, unless you just haven't changed your oil ever, then there are more problems with your motor than modern engineering can solve. Yeah, well, I've got to tell you honestly, guys, I've had customers that do their oil 20, 30 and 40,000 Ks, okay, on a 1KZ. There's one I just, you know, when I think of things, I sort of always have this one example in my mind, you know, like that one with the catch can that had bugger all valve clearance. There's one I always have in mind, 140,000 Ks, yep. And I've got this guy, he had a 1KZ. He used to bring it in at, 160, bring it in at 200. He'd bring it in for the major service, but that was the only service. It's been 2 years, 40,000, dude. You can't do that. Anyway, it was still running well, so I shouldn't tell you that, but the oil was disgustingly thick and terrible. It's not good, but I'll tell you the engine was still running well at 240K, so there you go. Okay, the next one, moving on. How are we going for time? 17 minutes. I think we've only got one to go. Let me see, we've got water pumps. This is it, last one, guys, so hang around. Okay, problem. Here we go, problem. Water pumps leaking prematurely. Now, I've just got to say before we get started, water pumps leak on every make and model. It's a blanket statement, it could be sort of wrong, but generally, in all the makes and models, they all leak eventually. You know, you can get lucky. There's Prados I know with original water pumps at over 450,000. I don't agree with it, but I know of them, and that's what they are. They've been advised. It's up to them what they want to do. Now, leaking prematurely, they don't leak at 10, 20, 30. If it leaks at 80,000, it's probably 10 years old. It's been sitting around. You know what I mean? It's just the seal isn't going to last forever. There's a bearing in there. It gets wear, it gets plain, it allows more movement. The rubber gets dodgy. You know, like the Toyota pumps, they do last really well. They're straightforward to change. They haven't got any of those silly paper gaskets. So who gives a stuff about a water pump? Why are we even talking about it? But let's read it anyway for the hell of it, because he's obviously scratching the bottom of the bucket, trying to hang it on Prados. And you know what? Don't go and read their articles because they're just looking for clicks and that, you know, like they got ads, all the Darchie ads in between everything, you know, like, whatever, mate, you know. Anyway, problem, water pumps leaking prematurely. There are several reports of water pumps leaking prematurely, which is a sign they have had it. It's one of those things. The parts themselves aren't too expensive. However, while you're in there, you may as well replace the timing belt. You might as well check the injectors. It's got nothing to do with the injectors. Sorry, that's me. I stopped reading. You know, I got distracted. Might as well check the injectors. Hello. Anyway, you might as well, back to reading. You might as well check the injectors if the condition is unknown, and then you might as well have the valves checked for correct adjustment. You might as well have, so because you're doing a water pump, you're going to check the injectors and do the valves. Dreaming, mate. Again, bad information. Going back to, we're going from bad, really bad to not too bad to back to pretty bad again, you know. Anyway, Check the injectors if the condition is unknown. You may as well have the valve check, correct adjustment. You may as well change your drive belt too, and check to see if any of the idler pulley bearings are going crunchy and replace those as well. Look, you know, again, I wonder who taught you that one, you know what I mean? Oh, God. Big front engine kit, ring any bells, big front engine job, videos on YouTube, you know, BFE kits. Anyway, solution. Water pumps should be replaced before 150,000, so it's before 150 now, guys, just so you know. Or just do them when you change the timing belt. Bingo. Okay, so we're getting back to some better information again. Hopefully they aren't leaking, but a sure sign would be coolant seeping from the water pump or sprayed around the engine. Well, where it sprays, guys, you'll see a pink line under your timing belt cover. Okay, so you go over the passenger side, the driver's side, sorry, on the driver's side, look in towards your timing belt cover, shine a light, and on the inside of it, right, just underneath, sort of the sprays a line. It might be kind of whitey pinky in colour, and because it sprays off the back of the pulley where it leaks. Okay, that is your telltale sign. Other than that, it can be very hard to spot. You might not even have that. You can put a mirror around it, not see it. Sometimes I've gone to do timing belts for people. They're doing the big front engine job anyway, and I've got the water pump up and haven't noticed till it's in my hand. I'm going, wow, that was actually obviously just started to leak because there was no other signs, but it had pink and, you know, the coolant leaking out the bottom. Sometimes they last 250,000. They don't normally last to 300,000. It is very wise to just do it at 150k, which is a long time. 150,000 Ks, it's just maintenance, another maintenance item. You got to do your coolant then anyway. Not a big deal. Just change your water pump, timing belt, idler, tensioner. Hey, hit me up for a big front engine kit if that's what you need. Every 150,000 Ks. We've got videos on that. Just search our YouTube channel or shoot me a text message and I'll send you the latest information we have available. Anyway, back to reading. Replace them before 150,000 Ks or just do them when you change the timing belt. Hopefully they aren't leaking, but a sure sign will be coolant seeping from the water pump sprayed around the engine. If your coolant level is low but your hoses aren't leaking, this is a good place to look. So while changing the water pump is a fairly straightforward and relatively inexpensive proposition, parts are about $220 for the quality replacement. It's the flow-on effect of all the bits you might as well fix up while you're there. Exactly right. You got to budget around about, I can tell you, it's around, you're going to budget around about $800 for all your bits and pieces. You know, water pump, time belt, idlers, tensioners, cam seals, all the bearings, the coolant, all that sort of thing. That's your parts budget. Labour, it's quite a big job. You need to budget around about the same again, really, to do the job right, including a few extras. As we've described in other videos, we reverse flush the exterior core of the radiator, the condenser, and that, get a lot of that dirt and stuff out that's got in there from the front over 150,000 Ks. We push it back out the back. Anyway, guys, that's the bottom of the article. No need to go there and read that. And obviously none of their other articles, because if there is inaccurate and misled, and it's just, you know, okay, look, some of that was pretty good towards the end, some not bad advice, you know. But you know what, I think it'd just be really good. I'd hate to be, you know, a perfectionist, you know, nobody's perfect, but I sort of like to get the information right. And when I read particularly those first couple of paragraphs in part one, it was really bad, you know, and that's why I went, you know what, I'm gonna have to do a video. I hope people aren't reading this and they're just getting the wrong idea. It's misleading, it is misinformation. You know, the information, you know, it should be fact checked. So I've just fact checked it. And hey, if any other companies need a bit of fact-checked information on anything to do with 1KDs, I'll be happy to help where I can help. And if I can't help, I'm going to tell you, sorry, I can't help, because I'm not going to tell you crap that isn't accurate. All right, guys, thanks for watching. If you got something out of that and you like that, give us a thumbs up. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I know there's quite a heap of people watching that aren't subscribed, so now might be the time. If you think I've earned your subscription, to hit the subscribe button, turn the bell on so you don't miss that really important next bit of information. And we're about done. So that was part one, part two, part three, and you're in business. Bada bing, bada boom, we're out here. Thanks for watching. See you guys.